How to Sell Anything to Anyone by Joe Girard. Chapter 1. The End of a Loser, the Birth of a Winner. Joe reveals that he had a difficult childhood. He grew up in a poor family. His father constantly beat him, with or without reason, and said that he was a complete nonentity and achieved nothing in life. And listening to this day after day, he began to believe it. Words. But then he decided to prove to himself and his father that he was something. Costs. He began to go to bars and clean workers' shoes for a small fee, for which you could buy one ice cream. Then, when he was 8 years old, he plus to this, became work as a paperboy. And one of the rules that he learned since childhood was such that the greater the number of people to whom he offered something, the more sales he made. Even if 9 people refused, 10 will certainly bought. Then he and his accomplices robbed a bar, but he was lucky that the bartender did not insist on his arrest. After that, he changed many different jobs. With the army, Joe also did not work out, as he damaged back and he was released from service. In general, his life was useless until he met a man named Abe Saperstein. He was engaged in real estate. Joe began working for him and soon started a family, and after a while, Abe left the whole business for him. And things were going well until he was cheated with the land plot, after which he owed a large amount. Creditors. He didn't have any money left in his pockets. Was to feed his wife and children, and to provide for his family, he came into business. Car sales. From that moment on, he began to turn into the greatest trader in the world. He was listed in the Book of Records. Guinness. With this story, the author wanted to say that no matter how was your childhood, no matter how much money you have in your pocket, if you strive for something, you will achieve this. Chapter 2. Everything starts with desire. Before you start selling something, first, you must know what you want. Secondly, you must know what exactly you can get if you sell your product to another client. In our case, Joe wanted to provide for his children decent life and knew that if he sold the car to the person standing in front of him, he will be able to buy the necessary things and products. And so he spent all his strength to make a deal. Chapter 3. Burdock is a person. In Detroit, a man who wanted to buy a car, dealers called Burdock. You must treat your client with respect, because subconsciously he feels one is trying to cheat and when the seller is dismissive applies to him. And because the person begins to think that the seller is trying pull out all his money and starts to shirk and doubt, which is wasting your time. As a result, both you and your client are not satisfied. In fact, your customers are people who stubbornly and work hard to earn their money and are genuinely interested in buying something from you. And when they enter the salon, they are afraid that the seller may deceive them in some way. You will have a chance to sell something if you overcome your client's initial fear. If you are affable, friendly, and honest, then benefit both you and your client. The client will now have no doubt that he bought a good car and will recommend you to their acquaintances. You will get more and more each time. New clients. Therefore, make the client a friend and he will work on you. Chapter 4. Law of 250. Whatever feels you feel in relation to the client, do not let them influence to your actions. Remember that thanks to your customers you earn yourself for life. Joe believes that everyone has an average of 250. A person who is important enough for him to invite them for a wedding or funeral. This means that if you see 50 different people a week and only 2 of them are unhappy how you reacted to them, then at the end of the year there will be already over 5,000 people who have been adversely affected. Those 2 Therefore, you must not allow even one person left you upset and dissatisfied. No matter what kind of jerk the client is, if you find the right approach, then it can bring into your pocket money. Therefore, even if you are in a bad mood, try restrain yourself. Chapter 5. Don't join this club. This means that you should not gather with the others sellers in a bunch and discuss what they did in the past. In the evening or chat on other topics that do not have nothing to do with work. This is how you waste your time. If everyone is shirking work, try to take all clients on yourself, so you can use more different approaches to the client and sell more often. Therefore, treat other employees with friendliness. But in the workplace, try to observe purely business relationship. Chapter 6. What do you do after you make a sale? No matter what you sell, there will always be people who want to buy it from you. To do this, you only need to find them. Joe just took the phone book and started calling. All in order. Yes, many refused him, someone did not pick up the phone at all. But there were those few people who then came and bought cars from him. In any case, even such meager results are better than to stand in a smoking room and discuss with the peasants how the day went. For people who are not yet interested in a car, you can ask what car they drive now when going to buy a new one and other suggestive questions. Having learned all the information, add such a person to your list and then call back a couple of months from that, the time when you would like to change it, and with all possible ways to persuade you to buy a car in your car dealership. If by this time he has already bought a car, then ask him if he knows any acquaintances who are going soon go to a car dealership, and you can even offer them a discount. It doesn't matter what you're selling, take your time to find out all the information you need, and then use it. For example, you sell computers to companies. Before making an offer, try to find out first as much as possible about the company, how many people work in it, how long ago they bought computers, how often they need under repair, is the company growing now, is it going to hire new people? All this information will help you in the future. Build your proposal so that you will certainly made an order. Chapter 7. Fill the seats on your Ferris wheel. Make sure everyone knows what you are doing. So tell all your friends about it first. And acquaintances. By the law of 250, soon you will be known. A lot more people. When they buy a car from you, ask the person where it works, and if, for example, a butcher, then try at least occasionally buy meat from him. That you will not only improve relationships, but also possibly get new clients. Since the butcher sometimes talks to his customers and may just casually recommend you. Chapter 8. Hunting with bloodhounds. You can also motivate other people to search for you customers. Let's say for 30% or 50% of your commissions for the sold car. You can negotiate with people of such professions who often communicate with their customers, for example, hairdressers or stylists. If you received a call to find out how much the car costs, never underestimate its price, just to lure a person to a car dealership, and referring on a mistake to try to sell it for the real value. The buyer in this case will feel deceived. You can name the minimum price of the car, without any additional bells and whistles, air conditioning, navigator, and so on. The price for which you can sell the car, albeit without total. If you see that there's a person in front of you who can influence the masses, then you can sell him a car by making a discount on the amount of your commissions. That you will get a bloodhound in your ranks who will tell about you to his friends and people who listen to him. You can also offer him 50% of your commissions for every client he brings. Thanks to the detectives alone, Joe sold about 550 cars. Chapter 9. Direct conversation with the client. Make the client feel obligated. For example, if a person chooses a car, then invite to your office, on the pretext that there you can choose the best option for him, and then offer him a cup of coffee or a glass of whiskey. If the client came with children, then you should have in stock some sweets and balloons. In any case, you need to treat the client with something, since psychologically, a person tends to respond service for service, and therefore, he is more likely to buy a car from you. Chapter 10. How to sell scent. In new cars, customers are attracted to their smell. But some people don't want to get in the car because that they are afraid of feeling obligated. Therefore, in every possible way, you must push client in the car to feel it. People generally like to try before they buy things at work. Touch them, hold hands, play with them. So let them do it. Chapter 11. Espionage and intelligence. Always draw the client into the conversation, thereby, you will give him to open up to you. Ask why he needs a car, what brand he preferred. Why did he make such a choice, who advised him? If at work, where does he work? By getting answers, you can delve deeper into this topic. Thus, having talked, the client will begin to trust you. Chapter 12. Final grip. If you repair and sell TVs, well, or not only them, you can use the immediate delivery. For example, they might call you and ask if you can repair their telly. You must find out how old the TV is, who the manufacturer is, and so on. Then say you intend to pull up right now and want to bring a spare TV that the family will be able to use while the old one is being repaired. Here, as I understand it, this method only works if the client has a product older than a Mammoth. And it turns out that the repair, as a rule, takes a week or two. And the client will already get used to the new product and, as a result, wants to buy it. But before leading a new product to a customer, you first need to find out about his ability to pay. If you see that he lives in a hut, then probably. Still, you shouldn't make such a gesture. Chapter 13. Victory after the signing of the deal. After selling the item, update your listing information. About the client. Write down what he bought from you, when, in your opinion. Call him again to offer him additional services or upgrade your product. Also send a thank you note to the customer. And remind you to pay 50% if the person comes from him. A couple of months after buying the car, call to your client and ask if everything is in order and was not. Is there any trouble with her? Also ask if anyone is going to of his acquaintances to buy a car. If the client returns after discovering some problems, do not brush it off like a pesky fly, though. Most sellers do this. Since they have already sold the product, they have earned a commission. And now they don't want to bother with more problems. Decide. You must reassure the client and promise that. Personally monitor the quality of all necessary works. As a last resort, even if the company does not want to fix any deficiency at your own expense, you can compensate. Repair out of pocket, so you let the buyer know that you are on his side. See the customer as a long-term investment, rather than send it to all four sides, after sold the goods. When you have a large flow of customers who, if they ask you specifically, then you are probably not. Take the time to answer calls or send thank you notes. Therefore, delegate your responsibilities by hiring someone student who also wants to start working in this area. Let him take on all the minor duties, and you only aim at customers. Then, if the flow of customers is too large, hire another person to entertain them until their turn comes. For example, show cars, offer a ride, and so on. At the same time, he can, as if by chance, find out which. The client has his old car. What is the mileage? What does he do? The client and what his hobby is, and when the turn comes. Before it, your assistant will already give you all the information which he knew about him.